Okay, we're going to begin because we got a lot of really, really good stuff uh, over here from the Zohar. This week's Parsha's Pinchas. And first of all, I'd like to welcome Angelo Chasia and whoever's going to be joining in. And we have just so much going on in this week's Parsha, just even the literal text. And that much more so in the Zohar. The Zohar deals with all dimensions of the Parsha, obviously on the esoteric level. And I'm not going to give a whole recap of the Torah portion because that would take up the whole class easily. But I just want to give a brief recap the way it relates to the Zohar. And that's as follows. So we have this personality who's called Pinchas. And he's the grandson of Aaron, who is experiencing something which is antithetical to Judaism and to morality. And he sees the prince of the tribe of Shimon that is having actually relations with the princess of one of the princesses of Moab. And they did that in order to seduce and in order to cause the Jewish people to sin and thereby to fall and therefore to have the wrath of God upon them, because it says God despises immorality. And they were successful at that last week's portion where we learned that 24,000 people died in a plague. And Pinchas stops this. And he takes his spear and he kills both of them, right? So this may seem like a zealot, and he was a zealot in a certain way. But the difference is that he acted in a way that he did something that was not written down to do, right? But he performed actually the inner will of God, which is to eradicate negativity from the midst. Now, obviously, I mean, in terms of modern day application of this, we can't repeat, we can't take the law in our hands. But in the case of, right, we can't go into that. That's a whole subject in and of itself. Also, I mean, Pinchas in modern day applicability. But we're not going to touch upon that. There's a lot of interesting offshoots going on over here. But basically, Pinchas is blessed with an eternal priesthood, right? He's blessed to be a Kohen, a priest. And that's unbelievable because beforehand he wasn't a priest, and now he's actually blessed with eternal life. And we know that Elijah is actually Pinchas. So shortly after Pinchas, does this deed and performs this act, the Parsha continues on with all types of tangents and laws. Specifically, God gives us the command of bringing the sacrifices twice a day. In the temple, that was brought twice a day. We had the morning sacrifice and the afternoon sacrifice, and we know that corresponds to prayer. So we're given over actually the secret of the sacrifices, which the Zohar tells us is really the secret of the Ein Sof, secret of infinity, has to do with the sacrifices. Again, we have to remove it out of our minds to think like, oh, sacrifices and what is that, associated with paganism and all that. Sacrifices in the temple were actually done on the highest level, and obviously raising up the animal up to the highest level, and what it represents is actually raising up the corporeal, the physical, and to bind it and to make it one with the spiritual. So essentially, we're blessed with this gift of the sacrifices over here. Now we know that we don't have sacrifices nowadays. What do we have in lieu of the sacrifices? So the prophets tell us that what do we have in lieu of the sacrifices? Okay, anybody know? Anybody want to?
In lieu of the sacrifices, we daven.
Correct.
We have shacharit, mincha, and marav. Is that correct?
Exactly. Right. Okay. So we have like the prophet says, that I will, that we will repay, right? We repay God with the service of our lips. That's what the prophet writes, and that is actually the three prayers that we have daily. So this is what the Zohar deals with. It talks about the three prayers, and I am going to share with you the text of the Zohar. So in front of us we have the text of the Zohar. And just, I mean, I think we've had this a number of times over here in the Zohar, that we are spoken to over here by the faithful shepherd. So who's the faithful shepherd?
I have a question,
Yeah.
Rabbi. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Are we going to have access to this that you're sharing with us on the screen?
Do you see that? Do you see it in front of you?
Yes, I do. Are we able to access it as a PDF at any time?
Yeah, right. So if you click back on the email, it says over there, download text. So you have the ability to access that directly from your email.
Okay, so it's one and the same thing. Okay.
Well, there were two clicks. One is to get on, and then one is to download this as a PDF.
Yes, that I did both. So
okay,
okay, thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. Okay, so who's the faithful shepherd over here? Faithful shepherd is Moses, Moshe Rabbeinu. So Moses is speaking to us. Obviously, the soul of Moses up above in heaven is speaking to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and that's recorded in the Zohar. Right? So we have direct teachings from Moshe Rabbeinu going on in the Zohar. So the synopsis is the faithful shepherd tells us how the three prayers were instituted to parallel the sacrifices. Now, this is very, very interesting. The relevance of the passage. Some of the most significant and spiritual insights into the psychology of a heart disease are revealed in this essential passage of Zohar. You know, I chose this piece because it was just fascinating how it relates, first of all, to our spiritual life, but also to our physical life as well, as we're going to see. Therefore, a more detailed discussion is warranted. We begin with the ancient ritual of sacrifice as we visually connected these verses with repentance in our hearts. The sacrifices are burnt offerings that were made 3 times daily during the time of the temple, are now executed on our behalf. The effect of this action is deeply profound and vitally important. The power of the morning prayer is summoned forth, which denotes the lone lamb sacrificed during the early dawn. This corresponds to Abraham, and the prayer now awakens untold mercy in our universe. So in the morning, we have the sacrifice of Abraham. That's Shacharit. That's the morning one. The morning prayer. And all of a sudden, there's mercy that's aroused through this prayer of Shacharit. Abraham was a deeply sharing individual who offered unconditional kindness to both friends and strangers.
I think so.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Just wait. Sometimes they come back.
Okay.
I'm sorry, what happened? Do you hear me? Hello?
Hello, you're back.
Do you hear me?
Rabbi?
Yes, do you hear me? Hello? Hello? Am I clear? Uh-oh. Steve?
We see you.
Hi, am I clear?
Hi.
Yeah. Was there a pause? Was there a lapse?
Yeah, there was a lapse. You were frozen a little bit, but now it's probably the internet, and that's it. We're back.
Okay, great. So let's continue.
You were talking about the morning sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yes.
So for this, we're talking about morning sacrifice corresponds to Abraham, who is the epitome and an embodiment of kindness. For this reason, the name of Abraham arouses mercy. The afternoon prayer manifests the sacrificial lamb that is offered towards evening, which connects to, who's the afternoon prayer? Isaac. This action silences judgments that are due to us as a result of our negative behavior. The evening prayer concerns the fat that's devoured all night. So we know that the evening prayer, which corresponds to Arvit Mariv, is not an actual sacrifice, but it's actually the fats and limbs of the animals that were sacrificed for Shacharit, right? That of Abraham and Isaac. So they were left on the fire overnight. And what does that represent? And these fats are herewith burnt by our efforts extended here. This sacrifice appeases evil forces and removes illnesses from our bodies. So it's the fats. It's the fats and it's the limbs that are simmering on the altar. And the Zohar is going to tell us that corresponds to removal of, when we say burn and just remove all negativity from within the body. These sacrifices are intimately tied to the organs of the body. And it's interesting who's saying this. It's Rabbi Pinchas. It's not Pinchas from the Parsha, right? That's Pinchas. He doesn't even have the name Rabbi because it's, he is. But this is Rabbi Pinchas in the Zohar, which interestingly is speaking over here. Rabbi Pinchas utilizes the cryptic language of the Zohar, explains that the brain controls the heart, while the heart controls the liver. The brain is the domain of our consciousness and emotions. If we allow the other side, our ego, to control our thoughts and states of mind, there will inevitably be anger, hostility, and fury in our hearts. This ill is then transferred to the liver. The liver, we're told, is the physical manifestation of the negative entities. And we're not supposed to actually pronounce it, but it's, it's the type of a negative angel is intertwined as one. Our anger and fury feed these evil entities, allowing them to grow stronger in our bodies. Thus, the Zohar states, and from the liver, which represents, right, again, this negative dimension, negative angel, come all the diseases and illnesses to all parts of our body. However, Rabbi Shimon, over here is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, right, the author of the Zohar, explains that these evil
I think you froze again.
beings, hello? You're with
Too many people watching soccer.
Sorry. Are you with us? Are you with me?
So.
Hello? Okay. So beings will devour the fat and waste.
I think that we have the wrong PDF because ours is on Joshua and Caleb and his is on the 3 prayers.
Yeah.
Oh no, really?
Yes,
Asya?
really.
Oh,
Sorry, Rabbi.
you were okay. I apologize. You were given over the wrong PDF, and I'm gonna have it sent over.
Thank you.
To you. Yeah. I apologize.
It's okay.
But anyways, it's on the screen over here, and I'm gonna obviously read it out loud. But this is unbelievable because, according to the Zohar, what is the source of illness? Source of illness is essentially a control of mind, heart, and liver, right?
Yes.
And what happens is that let's just go back for a second. However, Rabbi Shimon explains that these evil beings will devour the fat and waste that we sacrifice during our evening prayers. Thus, the fat offering becomes an appeasement, a token feed to keep these wicked forces at bay. This will be reflected in the liver, and our illnesses are kept at a distance.
So I want.
State of mind.
Hello?
Oh, there he is. I'm sorry.
Okay, good.
Hello.
I'm sorry. I don't know what happened over here.
It's okay. Internet is internet, and it always.
We'll use the recording to pick up the gaps.
Okay, good. I've learned this early on, especially with online, these online courses, that there's a lot of things that come in your way,
Glitches. Yes.
yeah. And you just have to be persistent. So
Rabbi, I have
yes,
some questions about the fat, the mind versus the body, and how you're discussing all this.
yeah,
My philosophy.
yeah, okay, go
Sorry,
ahead.
I
We didn't actually even go into it so much, because this is just like an intro. So
okay.
maybe, if you don't mind, if you just you may have your questions answered as we go on. So okay.
Sure.
So tell me if you in a couple of minutes we continue if the answers are not, or comments, obviously. But let's try to finish this over here on a practical level. The fat that is sacrificed, okay, correlates to our personal selfish traits. Our recognition and acknowledgement of our disdainful qualities is the ultimate meaning of the sacrifice. Really, what are we doing when we're sacrificing? What are we doing? We're actually bringing a portion of ourselves, of our ego, of our corporate, of our lower selves up to God, right? We're binding with something higher than ourselves. A remarkable revelation concerning heart disease and the liver is made by the Zohar in this passage, 2,000 years before modern medicine. Just as the liver absorbs and digests fats and filters toxins from the blood on a physical level, the prayer and sacrifice burn away the spiritual fats and toxins of anger and negativity. Is that unbelievable? According to the Zohar, spiritually what happens is that the liver becomes sifted, and where we know that anger, actually, the blood and the most, that lower part of ourselves becomes recycled in our liver. And on the spiritual level, like that negativity becomes taken away. In other words, the evening prayers allows us to metaphysically sacrifice the fat of our negative character traits, which is the key to healthy liver function. According to medical science, the human liver produces approximately 1,000 milligrams of cholesterol a day. Cholesterol is used to produce the bile we need for the digestion and the absorption of fats. The bile also removes wastes and toxic matters from the blood. Cholesterol levels can be high if the conversion of cholesterol to bile is impaired. If so, low bile acid levels send a powerful signal to the liver to produce more cholesterol. High levels of cholesterol and fatty substances in the bloodstream are primary causes of, all types of, basically clogging of the arteries, atherosclerosis, and coronary heart disease.
Yes.
Excess fat collects in the heart cells, killing the cells and eventually damaging the heart muscle, causing the seizures of the heart. Thus, low blood cholesterol and low fat is key to a healthy cardiovascular system. A healthy, full-functioning liver delivers clean, low-fat, toxic-free blood to the heart, which then pumps and purifies blood to the rest of the body, including the brain, right? This physiological truth is found in the following Zohar verse. There, the evil angels receiving is that they devour the fatty parts and the fat of the sacrifice, as it is written, and the fat that is upon them, and then everything is offered to the heart. What is offered to the heart spiritually is mercy and gladness, which is the light of the Creator. What is offered to the heart physically is purified blood, low in fat, toxins, wastes, and cholesterol, the key for healthy cardiovascular function. Thus, a healthy body begins with spiritual soundness of mind, heart, and liver, right? Which is so true. Here, we ignite the power of the sacrifices and the 3 daily prayers. The influences of the evil angels and the ailments of liver and heart are abated. Our brain, which bears our consciousness, is liberated from the sway of the other side. Our blood is purified as anger and judgment are expunged from our hearts and livers. The cardiovascular system is cleansed, healed, and renewed. In addition, the widespread revelation of these ancient secrets for the first time in history generates an artillery of light that thwarts cardiovascular and liver diseases eternally by examining their deep-seated spiritual roots, the negative angel, right, Lili, and right this other angel that we're not supposed to pronounce their names. Okay,
Yeah.
so Chassid, go ahead. You were saying.
I was just thinking, going through this whole thing that you were presenting to us and teaching us today, and I had it in my head, now it's gone, but I'll try and reformat it. If our mind is clear of negativity, how do I present this? I had it so set up so right. If our mind is cleared of negativity and we're focused on davening, and our body should be pure as well, because our mind follows in suit. I mean, our body follows in suit of our mind. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And is that correct in
Yes.
what I'm asking?
Absolutely.
And then your heart follows in suit of that as well. So if you have negativity stored up in your mind and anger, and you're angry at this daily, and you're stressed out, your body gets ill. Is that not correct in a sense?
Absolutely.
So, and also, like, I mean, me and my husband were a vegetarian.
Okay.
So our bodies seem to be, we've always kept kosher, but when we went vegetarian, our bodies got even healthier because we don't eat any red meat. We only eat fish, which is not like vegan, but fish is not really a red meat per se. So,
Right.
and you were talking about the fats in the heart and the artery and so forth. Is that making any sense to you whatsoever?
You're
In
saying
the sense of what
because you're keeping physical.
physiologically.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. It's right. It's one and the same. You know, we have to keep spiritually clean and pure, and as well as physically.
Right. So you have to have your mind and your heart in line with your body, if that makes sense, as well as with your neshama. It all has to be in line and in sync. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay, good.
now, excellent. So now we're gonna jump into the Zohar over here, and we're gonna see this more in depth. Okay. So this was all an intro. Now we're gonna see the actual words of the Zohar, and the words of Moshe, right? Of Moses, that are gonna come in and enlighten us. Okay. So I'm gonna start off in Hebrew, switch back to Hebrew and English, because I like to use the actual Hebrew. Hebrew has stores within it a tremendous amount of light that is important to enunciate.
It's
Okay.
richer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Amar Raya Mehemna, said the faithful shepherd, Ka'an Bai Laminda, one has to know, Eich Itkinu, how we're instituted, right? And we're going to flip over to page 3. Tzlota lekabel korbanin, how the prayers were instituted in lieu of the sacrifices. Elatlat tzlotin, for there are 3 prayers, lekabel et hakeves echad ta'aseh baboker, that parallels the one lamb you shall take in the morning. So it says, dat tzlota de shachrit, that is the prayer of shacharit. The itmar ba, that it says about it, vayashkem Avram baboker, that Avram woke up early in the morning, El Hamakom, to the place, Asher Amad Sham Et Pnei Hashem, where he stood before Hashem, before God. V'ukmu Rabbanan, and the rabbis have taught us the late Amida. Then it says that Abraham stood up in that place. What is standing up referring to? Elatzlota refers to prayer, right? That Avram went up to bat to pray. V'etakeves hashenin, the second sacrifice, Tasa ben Arbaim, you should do in the afternoon. The Kabbalah Tzlota de Mincha, that refers to the afternoon prayer. The Takin la Yitzchak, that Isaac instituted. Hahud ichtiv, and that is what the verse says regarding Isaac. That Isaac went out into the field towards dusk to speak. He went out to the field to speak in the field. And what does speaking refer to? That when speaking is not just having a conversation, but it refers to speaking with God. So he instituted the afternoon prayer. Slota de Arvit, but the evening prayer, lekabel emurin ufdarin de mitachlin kolala, that has to do with the simmering of the fats in the limbs that were eaten, that were consumed the entire night. And that corresponds, that it speaks about Jacob, that Jacob reached the place and he fell asleep in that place, which is what place are we talking about? That's the place of the temple. He actually went to sleep over there, and it says that he reached the place, and that place corresponds to reaching is actually prayer. Or in English over here, it says lighting upon, which I think it's simpler to say reached. So reaching is prayer. So the Moshe Rabbeinu, so Moses continues and he says, Adhachi da anan ba'atar da, since we have referred to this story in our discussion, why does it say that Jacob took from the rocks that were in the place and he put them around his head? And he slept in that place. Did Jacob not have any pillows or other, other things that he could have slept? It says that Jacob took rocks and he slept on rocks. We could think of more comfortable things that that Jacob could have put his head upon, right? So why does he put his rocks there? When the groom comes to the bride, even if he's used to lying on pillows and cushions, and she gives him rocks to sleep upon, he shall receive it with all. We should receive it willingly. In other words, when you go on to your beloved's house, you haven't seen her, in so long, and you're used to sleeping on, you in comfort, and she gives you, what she has, so you take what she has, and you enjoy. Why? Because it's coming from her. So too, and so too, with this respect to the verse, and when Jacob saw them, he said, referring to the shepherds. So Amar Rabbi Shimon says, Tiv, sit down, and the scripture will say, continue, right? And the Raya Mehemna, V'uf hachi itmar b'chibur kadma, mai dichtiv vayomer Yaakov kasher ha'am, ve'ema akra, ad kan Raya Mehemna. So Rabbi Shimon furthers the explanation, telling how the heart receives the confession and offers it to the brain, and he closes by saying that all ills come from the liver and all goodness comes from the heart. So now there's a little bit of a gap going on over here in the Zohar, right? Because we just jumped on something, and what essentially we saw is that we went off on a little bit of a tangent because we spoke about the three sacrifices, and when we spoke about the evening sacrifice about Jacob, so the Raya Mehemna jumps upon telling where Jacob slept, and he starts going off on a tangent on that. So for our discussion over here, we're not going to go into that whole tangent, but we're going to continue on the discussion of the sacrifices themselves. And we're going to continue over here on the top paragraph on page 4. So Rabbi Pinchas says, Mistakel Havina, I have been thinking about this. Shmira balev ihu vadai, that keeping certainly is in the heart, which is why it is written, keep of the heart, which is which is malchut, which has to do with kingship, and of nowhere else remembering, okay, which is zechira in Hebrew, is a matter of the male, namely in the brain, which is the zer anpin. We're going to explain this in a second. That rides and controls the heart. Remembering pertains to the brain alone, and it is therefore written, remember the Shabbat day for the male, which is zer anpin, while keep the Shabbat day, which is the female, which is malchut, the brain, which is the male. So zer anpin mounts the control of the heart, which is malchut. The heart controls and mounts the liver, and the liver is basically that evil angel and the serpent intertwined, and they are one. And they are the lobe of the liver, and the liver, and so it is with the sacrifice. The lobe of the liver is a serpent, right? And the liver is the food for the male, and the male is the secret of that negative angel. Okay, so what do we say over here? We said a chock full of information in this short paragraph. So we essentially, Rabbi Pinchas is bringing out 2 points or 3 points, but the first 2 points are there's remembering, and then there's keeping. And what is the difference between remembering and keeping? Remembering is the process of the male aspect, because we remember something, and the remembering has to do with long-term memory, right? And long-term memory traditionally is more connected to the male aspect, which is, in Kabbalistic terms, that refers to the zer anpin, right? Which is the male, the sfirot, the way they descend down, they go from one to the other. And then keeping refers to the malchut, which is the female sphera, because malchut, keeping something, is holding on to it, and holding on to it refers to, what are we holding on to? We're holding on to what we remember, right? So take, for example, a memory, childhood memory. So when you hold that in your heart, what you remember in your brain is then held on to in your heart. So you may not remember all the details of it, but you remember the general, the general place and the general circumstance of what went on. But you're holding on to some sort of a distant memory, and that's keeping. That again refers to the female aspect, which in Kabbalistic terms is the receiver. It's receiving from the remembering. So we have the brain, which is remembering, and we have the heart, which is keeping. And now the heart then actually, the heart controls, and then the words of the Zohar, mounts the liver, okay? And the liver is basically, what is the liver? The liver is the physicality. The liver is the wild beast, basically, which corresponds to blood. And blood, it says blood is the nefesh, is the living aspect of man. So the living aspect of man is controlled by the remembering, and then it goes to the keeping, and then it goes to the mounting and the control of the liver. And that again is the concept of the sacrifice. And this sacrifice is kind of like is appeased, is the appeasement of this part of ourselves, this wild beast. Over here it's like this serpent, and that wild beast is actually appeased by this process of remembering to keeping to mounting, right? And it's almost like mounting on a horse, that you control it. What controls it? Your brain, right? And your heart controls the horse. So it's the same thing within us. Okay, any questions or comments?
Is there some aspect of this that is nukva? Because I'm trying to understand what nukva is.
Nukva is the female.
The female
Okay.
of the heart?
Yes, nukva is female. Yeah, dachar is the male. Zachar is male, and nukva is the female.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay, so let's continue. Amar Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon said, "Vadai kachu." That is certainly how it is. V'yautu, and it is good. Uverira demila, and it is a clarification of the matter. V'raza v'sitra de korban, and it is actually the secret of the hidden matter of the sacrifice. Here we get into the deeper aspect of what is the sacrifice, what is going on over here. Kaved natil bekadmita, the liver receives first, together with its lobes, which are this negative angel, and serpent is mate, and all those arteries that are in the liver are their hosts and encampments. And the receiving is that they devour the fatty parts and the fat of the sacrifice, as it is written, and the fat that is upon them. And then everything is offered to the heart. So what is going on over here? So we have this bloody liver, right? That what does the liver do? The liver does the job of sifting the blood, right? And making it useful blood. So it's right. It's an unbelievable organ. That, I mean, every single organ is a complete miracle, right? That we have within our bodies. But the liver is able to just take that blood, sift it, and then send it back to the heart. And on a spiritual level, that refers to, right, the raising up of the physicality, the raising up of the human, right, of the animal, of this negative angel and this negative right, the serpent over here now becomes actually human-like. And the heart does not receive from the whole of the sacrifice, but only from the confession made with it, which ascends with the smoke and the prayer that is made over the sacrifice. Right? Because he doesn't receive the whole thing, because what happens with this leftover fats and limbs? They get burnt the entire night. That's the evening prayer. The evening prayer refers to the fats and limbs that are being burnt. And really the sacrifice does not, not everything goes up on, the sacrifice of the morning and the afternoon, which is the brain and the heart. Because we still have those fats and limbs that are not completely given over. So subsequently, the heart offers to the brain the desire of the unification of the priests in it, and are the rejoicing of the Levites. Because it says that who brought the sacrifices? It was the priests. And at the same time, the priests actually represent the aspect of brain, and the Levites represent the aspect of heart. The two of them coming together represent that union of heart and brain. That's Zer Anpin and Nukva. This brain, which is Zer Anpin, is the light that comes from the supernal brain, which is called Abba and Ima. Which Abba and Ima is really Chochma and Bina, which is wisdom and understanding. And the supernal brain offers to all hidden, who is completely unknown, that is Keter. So it goes from the heart and it goes back up to the brain. And then from there it goes up to the realm of superconscious, which is Keter. So it goes from the lower parts, right, from the liver to the heart to the brain to what is above the brain, crown. And everything is interconnected. And the brain, which is Zer Anpin, offers pleasure to all the upper beings, right? So that physical sacrifice is not complete in the morning and not complete in the afternoon. It's complete at night. Once its fats and limbs are taken out and they're left overnight, those fats and limbs are then actually the culmination of the sacrifice. And by them being consumed, they have an effect on the afternoon and the morning prayer, and that has to do, right, like the Zohar says, it raises up everything, right, and offers pleasure to all the upper beings. Now, speaking about the spiritual arteries, any questions, comments?
When it says limbs, do you mean the legs? Because there's a lot of meat on the legs, not just fat.
Right. So there were some parts of the body which were not of the body of the animals that were not.
My question was too much.
No.
You overloaded the system.
Not at all.
That's funny.
No,
Here he is.
Angela, we know you're.
Did you hear my question?
I got it. So, okay, we're back on. Hello?
There he is.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, we're back on.
Did you hear my question?
Yeah, it knocked us out. Knocked us off the net. It was a score. So there's different parts of the animal that were not allowed to be brought up on the altar, Angelo. So parts of the animal included, for example, the Gida Nashe. Gida Nashe is the sciatica, certain nerves and certain fats were not allowed to be brought up. It's called chelev. And certain limbs were also not brought up, right?
Okay.
And so what do you do with those? You just, right? So those were brought up at night, and they were actually like left overnight, and that refers to all those nerves and things like that. Refers to that aspect of the liver. Refers to the aspect of that angel. That is being appeased, right? And then it has to do with actually an uplifting of the entire animal, and the entire animal over here is really the entire spiritual makeup over here. And that's what the Zohar now jumps into the next paragraph. So the arteries that are in the liver are called ishim. Ishim, that's what they're called. There's different arteries, little, namely the angels of the evil forces, and that's what the liver represents. And all these are their hosts. The liver is, as we said, that is that negative angel, while the lobe of the liver, which is feminine, is his female. And why is it called lobe? Which in Hebrew it's called yoteret hakaved, which is called extra, the leftover. It is because she does not join together with the male, which is this negative angel, unless she has some spare time left over after. Now it says that prostitution in which she engages after she leaves him. Yoteret means leftover, for she leaves the male and makes him into a leftover after her after her cheating, right? And therefore, right? So basically, right? We're understanding the Zohar is understanding the liver as being that place of blood, that being that place of corporeal reality, that place of like negativity, and the liver is made up of this lobe, and the lobe represents this like kind of like outer part of the liver, and it represents the female who is not faithful to the male, and therefore it's called yoteret, which is extra, because she makes her husband extra because she has relations with other men. For when she wants to join together with a man to make him sin, she first all becomes for him as leftovers without any importance. namely without the power to rule over man. For at first, a sin is as the breadth of a hair, right? That's what the Talmud tells us. That what is a sin? That first a sin is like, breadth of a hair. You do something a little bit wrong. It wasn't such a big deal. Later, she draws close to him little by little. And this, of course, is talked about by King Solomon, referring to the harlot, right? In the beginning of Mishle, which is right, Proverbs, talks about this woman who is like, trying to seduce the man, and that and King Solomon is talking about the Yetzer Hara, the evil, right, the other side, which at first says no big deal, just it's a little thing over here, and then slowly they draws him in, and later she draws closer to him little by little until she is one in union with him, and he's basically given himself over, and he can no longer separate himself from her. And from those arteries that are in the liver, other forces of a number of types spread out, and they all take the limbs and the fats that are burnt on the altar at night, and all of them are included in the liver, which is this negative angel. And the heart, which is the main thing in holiness, namely Malchut, right? Because what's going on over here, Malchut, it says Malchut descends into death. That's how the Zohar refers to Malchut. It says that her legs go down into death. Raglea yordot mavet. That her legs go down into death. And that refers to Malchut, right? And it refers to the liver over here. So namely Malchut takes and offers to the brain. As we have learned, the heart rests over the two kidneys, which are Netzach and Hod. And there are two cherubs who are advisors in the secret of the advising of kidneys. That is to say that they arrange the bounty that descends from Zer Anpin and Malchut in the secret of the heavens that grind the manna for the righteous, which are righteous and righteousness, namely Yesod and Malchut. So we have basically, when we talk about the Zera Anpin, we refer to the 6 Sfirot, right, which we know as Chesed, Gvura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yesod, which is kindness, fortitude, harmony, fortitude. Did I say fortitude? I'm sorry. Strictness, harmony, fortitude, humility, binding, and then that joins with Malchut. So before we get down to Malchut, we have something which we have the kidneys, and the kidneys are the Netzach and Hod, and the Netzach and Hod actually grind. It says this process and bring it down from the Zer Anpin down into Malchut, which are it says that they are the righteous, namely Yesod and Malchut, and they are far and near, right and left. For when Netzach, which is right, is in control, they are near. But when Hod is left, is in control, that they are far. Now this is a subject basically going into Netzach and Hod, the difference between them. It's not really for right now, but one is near, refers to Netzach. Hod is humility, that's far. And all of them take and eat from the light of the union affected by their sacrifice, which one as befits it, until everything is connected together as one. So what's going on over here in this paragraph is that connect to the previous paragraph in the Zohar that tells us that this liver, all types of things are going on in this liver, right? But whatever's going on in the liver, we're saying, okay, do what you need to do, but leave us alone. We just want to take out the good. We want to sift out the good. And that's what happens. The good is actually extracted and is uplifted to the heart, and the heart then pumps it back into that Netzach and Hod, that those the kidneys, right? So from the liver it goes up to the kidneys, and from the kidneys it goes back up to the, right? It goes to the heart, and then from the heart it goes back up all the way to the brain. Okay, any questions, comments? This was okay. Okay, so let's continue. The sacrifices of, now this is a verse from King David. King David writes, the sacrifices of Elohim are a broken spirit. Right, and I'll say that in Hebrew. Zivchei Elohim ruach nishbera. What does this refer to? So Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai tells us this, namely, a broken spirit, confession and prayer is an approach offered to the heart. This brokenness of spirit, which refers to confession and prayer, right? What does prayer have to do with the brokenness of spirit? Because if a person is praying with a full heart, or a proud heart, then what kind of a connection does he really have? It's that brokenness of spirit, which is confession and prayer, is an approach offered to the heart, for it is certain, and the spirit returns to Elohim who gave it, which is King Solomon. Namely, a broken spirit ascends to where it descends from. So Elohim, what does Elohim always refer to? Malchut, kingship. That is called heart. And the liver, which is this negative angel, offers it closer to the heart, for it has become a good advocate for it, and everything is one bond in the sacrifice. And from the liver, which represents this negative angel, come all the diseases and illnesses to all parts of the body, and they rest in it. But the heart, which represents Malchut, is the purest of all the parts of the body, and from it are derived all goodness, all health of the parts, and all the strength, and all the joy, and all the perfection needed by all the parts. So therefore, right, what if our liver is healthy, then our heart is healthy, right? And also conversely, if our heart is healthy, our liver is also healthy. And then take it a step forward, if our liver is healthy, our heart is healthy, and our mind is healthy. And then take it the other way, if our mind is healthy, our heart is healthy, and our liver is healthy. So what happens when we have pent up, all types of pent up anger? So where is that kept? That's kept in the liver. And that...
Then
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I had a question.
Yeah, go
You're
ahead.
saying if you have pent up emotions or anger, it would affect your body physically,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
That would make you incredibly ill.
Exactly. Which
Okay.
which is what the liver does. The liver doesn't just sift the blood; it sifts what the blood represents. And as we learned over here in the Zohar, the blood represents that,
Spiritual.
the leftover of the sacrifice, that the malchut, the way it descends down to the aspect of death, right? And
Yes.
and it's very, very, and it's important, right, to have that time of that evening prayer represents that time of purifying the liver. And on an emotional level, right, it could refer to that time of kind of like airing out emotions and letting them sift, and then having able to go back to the heart and going with a pure heart and just continuing on. So we know, right, my good friend Zalman, who's also a psychologist, has got a whole connection with Kabbalah and psychology over here, and he speaks about this at length. But when we let go of emotions, and they're released from us, through speaking to somebody, or through letting them go, in other ways, either speaking to God, speaking to somebody that could help. So then that releases all those emotions, and the person is able to go on with their lives, right? On a spiritual level, right, this tells us the importance of the evening prayer. The evening prayer is the nightly prayer, is arvit. It's the time of darkness. It's, there's no, the spiritual is not so apparent as it is in the morning. And at the same time, we air things out, and we sift. We bring spirituality in the nighttime, and that has a very important effect on our physical bodies as well. So the prayer of Arvit, the nightly prayer of Arvit, has a spiritual effect. That's what the Zohar tells us on the liver and on the person. So, if right, not just on a spiritual level, as well as an emotional level, whether we understand it or not, it does have that effect. So just to tie this together, we're a whole being. We're one. We're not different realities. We're one. And when we have this mind, heart, body connection, so then we're living in a healthy place. But when there's a disconnect, either from the mind to the heart, or from the heart to the body, or from both of them to the body, so then we're living in illness. And that whole body and whole mind approach, right, is something so crucial for our lives on a spiritual level, on an emotional level, as well as a physical level. So it's interesting to note that these three parts of our being, which is mind, heart, and body, have an acronym to them. And the acronym is, so first of all, how do you say brain in Hebrew? Moach. How do you say heart? Lev. And how do you say liver? Kaved. And if you take the acronym of the mem of the moach, and you take the lamed of the heart, and you take the chaf of the liver, that spells out melech, king. So if somebody wants to be a king over themselves, he wants to be in a discipline, right? In a control. Because what is a king? A king is in control of his life and of his kingdom. So if we want to be in control of our kingdom, because our bodies are a kingdom, right? The Zohar, the Tanya tells us that our body is like a kingdom. And when we have the mind controlling the heart, so then we have the kingdom that's in control. So that the Zohar takes it a step forward, and that kingdom is controlled by the heart, also encompassing and being within the liver. So, so pretty amazing things over here in the Zohar. Any questions, comments? Hello?
Yeah, we're here.
Okay.
I'm here too.
Just wondering if we had that lap. So, any questions, Chassia, Angelo?
No, you've actually covered everything extensively. Thank you.
Yeah, I think this piece is amazing. It's unbelievable. I mean,
It's wonderful. I'm going to share this with my husband.
yeah, you think about this is written 2,000 years ago, and and talking about heart disease and liver, and and all that. The Zohar, is speaking on not just on a spiritual level, but it applies on all levels. So that's what makes this learning so important. So it's so crucial, because it's not just a spiritual teaching. It has an effect on our all parts of our lives. So I'd like to conclude with with God willing, we should have a healthy lives, and be able to apply these teachings, in a practical level, on a daily level, to have the time to actually just let go of those emotions, either when we pray the nightly prayer, or whenever that may be, and thereby that should give us a healthy life, on all levels. And may we see peace in the land of Israel, and peace, peace in the world, and only good things, and Mashiach now. So I'd like to bless you guys with a Shabbat Shalom, and
Thank you so much.
yes, and thank God. So we're back, and next week we're going to continue with the portion of matot, which talks about the different roll calling of the tribes. We're going to explore another dimension of the Zohar next week.
Oh,
Is that the 17th of Tammuz?
No, the 17th is on Tuesday.
Tuesday, okay.
Yeah. Maybe we'll touch upon a little bit the 3 weeks, what that represents as well. Because we're going to a process, a time period, which is called the 3 weeks, which has to do with the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, which of course has a ripple effect on the entire world, because of what the temple represented. It wasn't just a temple for Jews; it was a temple for the entire world. So,
isn't that just before Tish B'Av?
Tisha
Coming
B'Av,
up?
correct,
I
right?
say it wrong. We say
No,
it differently.
no. Yeah, right. So it's right. So there's 3 weeks starting on Tuesday, and ending 3 weeks from Tuesday. So God willing, next week we'll touch upon it. Hopefully we won't have to touch upon it, because we'll have the temple back here, and and we'll have peace in the world, and the
Mashiach
not only
will be here.
Mashiach, right?
Yeah.
So Shabbat Shalom, everybody. And
Shabbat Shalom to you.
Shabbat
Bye-bye.
Shalom.
So much.
yes,
And if you could share the PDF with us.
yes, yeah, we're gonna share the PDF. It was a wrong PDF. Yeah. No worries. Yeah, we're gonna share the PDF Chasya, and it's gonna be
Thank you.
resent. Great. So Shabbat Shalom is a pleasure, and God bless everybody.
Bye.
All the best. Kol Tuv. Bye bye, Steve. Shabbat Shalom.
Bye, Ralph.
Bye.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Bye.
Shalom.
Bye.
I'm sorry, Chasya. What is your email?
It is vm.roseman, ROSEMAN 93 at hotmail.com.
Okay, great. We have it. Yeah, and we're gonna send it out. Okay, great.
Shabbat
Okay,
Shalom,
Shabbat
Rabbi.
Shalom, everybody.
All right,
All the
thank
best.
you.
Kol Tuv. Shalom.
Bye-bye.